Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Centric. This being a show where I talk about crime dramas that I watch. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about The Blacklist, Season 10, Episode 3. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. So The Blacklister, this episode ended up really being interesting I think it's happened before where, the Blacklister, I'm sure it is, I'm just probably not thinking of any examples off the top of my head, where the Blacklister isn't necessarily the direct enemy in the episode, but they kind of associate it with the person behind all of this. Because basically this group is the not the pit pockets, the four guns who are pit pockets. Typically they don't turn to violence, which was interesting that this particular situation led them stealing walkies off of Secret Service and members as well as their guns. And basically a guy took a shot at Cynthia because she's running for re-election, and obviously, the team is on top of this. Obviously, Harold was there at the time, so he wants to look after his friend. But obviously, the complicated thing is Cynthia has a very complicated relationship, considering her last involvement with the task force ended with Reddington blackmailing her because, Harold's like, hey, I want to help you out, pay you back for keeping me out of prison. It's like, I didn't do it in a Christian way. I did it because Reddington was blackmailing me. So obviously she doesn't want to be under his thumb. So, which I think is actually kind of sweet because that's part of the reason why Reddington ended up doing this. It's because it is Cynthia. I mean, it added a layer to it because it's people he likes, but also people he could use in the end. I think it's once you've entered that circle of people he's taken an interest in, and even if he is kind of using you, he does still legitimately like Pennebaker. So I think it's once you've taken a shot at her or anyone in my circle is taking a shot at me. So we have a problem. So when he ended up initially the team caught the head of the four. I mean, they're kind of they're a well-organized unit. It's just it's very much, it reminds me of Leverage in the regard of just obviously, but they're a four-piece team. But the fact is that the way they pit pocket off of people and then they do their thing, and it definitely that side of the episode definitely gave me Leverage vibes. But, when at least one part of the team is played by Jacob Pitts, I feel like there's something super, or at least fairly recently I saw him and I can't remember what. But the thing I know he's from is I know he was in the show Justified. I need to rewatch that show from the beginning because I've not seen it in a long time. Because weren't there also talks of bringing that back at FX? I think I don't know. I think that's a show that they were planning on bringing back. Like I said, I don't remember. But either way. So that's why immediately I was like, hey, because I think I saw part of his name during the credits. I saw Pitts. I was like, oh, it's got to be. And I saw him and I was like, yeah, I'm pretty sure his name's Jacob Pitts. But either way, the cops, Dembe and Wrestler grabbed him because despite the big jobs they pull off, he still kind of got his little quirk of he likes very expensive watches. So they kind of drew him out and Wrestler arrested him. But the guy's really good. He'd been locked up, so he knows the law well enough that, he's been able to avoid prison time for the past, 10 years or so. So he's been able to do so because he knows the law well enough that he's like, cool. Oh, did you actually catch me with any of the product on me? No, because he stashes it just in case he gets, searched. And he also says, right, you even admitted, Wrestler, that watch you had was fake. It's what, maybe $50? That takes it from what was he saying, a D misdemeanor to an A, which I'm like, wait, is that how misdemeanors work? I was like, oh God, that's so confusing that stuff works like that. Because some stuff it's oh, you going to one is bad, because obviously any other capacity is oh, an A is better, but I guess in the misdemeanor world, I would have thought I guess it makes sense, but still it just feels weird. I guess it makes sense. An A, this misdemeanor, it does, but it just initially it sounds weird. It's just things that are oh, it's I don't know, man. It sounded weird the first time hearing that, but either way. So they ended up having to let him go, but Reddington quickly grabbed him, and I thought it was interesting where Reddington was right, you're very good at reading people's pockets and me, so it's right, what do I have in my pocket? It's oh, you have car keys or something, and he's actually, I have wait, a bus pass or what, a metro pass, and it's yeah, because he was it was either for a bus or train or whatever, and it's yeah, that's how I get around now. It's it used to be the whole having someone drive him around thing, rarely drove himself, but it's yeah, he scaled back severely, because even Harold was what's up with this place? Wait, you're actually living here? He's this place looks like it should be condemned. He's oh, it's fine. I'm that's weird. Like, Reddington's really, really scaled back it. I don't think it's just the Woojin stuff. Maybe it is, but it's like the fact is that you would kind of go so hard in the paint and just kind of cut ties with everyone. You know, it doesn't, and we haven't seen any of the old crew since like Dembe called them in the first episode of the season. It's like, so he's really like kind of doing his thing, but obviously he keeps enough in touch with people because obviously he brings in Teddy this episode when he was asking after trying to get stuff out of Dodson, was it Dodson or was it Dodds, the dude that was from the Four Guns. What I thought was interesting too, it's like, right, as for your mind, he's like, okay, I'm not going to dive too deeply because I'm sure plenty of people have tried that, have drowned, so, but he had talked about Reddington's smile, and that all he saw was like humor and darkness because he's like, that smile never reaches those eyes. There's always that, you put on that smile, but like it hides that deeper darkness. I mean, and it's like, right, you've lived a very long life, and you kind of don't have much left to lose except for that life, which is very, but also was that line where it's like, yes, you forgot about the back pocket or keep a lot of people, which once again, Panda Baker fell into, those people in his back pocket that he carries with him. So, but Teddy threatening to sever his hands is like, well, you really wouldn't take my livelihood. It's like, it's funny. And I love Reddington being like, right, you wouldn't rob me of my livelihood. It's like, right, robbing a thief. How ironic. I do love that. And it's like, because you are such an old school thief and everything, and just your whole motif and everything is very old school. Like, instead of Teddy doing his more typical animal thing, he's literally just going to use old school tools to slice your hands off. It's like, yeah, this thing, he's like, I still haven't quite figured out how to, like, cleanly sever limbs. And it's like, okay, I'll talk. So it turns out the real person behind all of this, he's a former, what's that actor? I should have paid more attention because I'm like, I've seen that actor and stuff. But the actor who's like the ex Secret Service member, and it's like, okay, so what's this all about? Why would he go after Panda Baker? Because we got it earlier in the episode that there was a recording of her talking to someone about something that's not supposed to leave that room. I was like, is it because you found out about some shady stuff? Turns out his target was never Panda Baker. It was always one of her security guys, Will, because it turns out, because he even asked the Four Guns earlier in the episode. He was like, yo, do you know what the meaning of a patriot is? And I was like, I thought that's why he was going after Panda Baker, because he's such a hardcore patriot. But for him, it's like, no, I went after Will because Will is a disgrace to the uniform. The first guy, the guy he shot early on, that guy, it's like, right, I took him out of the picture. I have great aim. I knew exactly what I was doing. Wasn't trying to kill him, hurt him enough to get him off the job so that Will have to take over main security duties. And it's like, yeah, it was all for this confrontation because Will's the one that recorded that conversation. So Cynthia's opponent that she's going up against was doing some like dirty dealings, getting like paying off people type of thing for some stuff. And obviously word had gotten it, like basically they were launching an investigation into him, and she got the word early. Will found that out listening to this recording and ended up telling the guy, her opponent Jerry, and Jerry was able to get in front of it and kind of cover up his trail. So we never really found out why Will believed what he believes. I thought he had like dirt on Cynthia. He was just saying like, no, she's not fit to be the senator and stuff. Like, who decided that? Virginia as a whole or just you? And it kind of seems like that was it. It's like, but that's what, what's the guy? I think his name was Lucas Roth or whatever. But Roth was all about this because for him, it's like, I took an oath, and he's like, we protect these people regardless of how we feel about them because this is our job. We might not, he's like, one of the people I represented it, I didn't really like, I hated them, but we have a job to do. And that the fact of the matter is about protecting democracy. And it's like, the fact of the matter is that a Secret Service member whose job is to protect these people is able to be swayed by whatever reasons. Once again, you don't have to like them, you have to agree with them politically, which he even admitted he didn't. And I think that's an interesting point to kind of make, considering it's like, it does make you wonder. I'm sure that has come up with like, maybe senators or presidents where it's been a thing of, hey, I don't like this person, I don't support their views, but it is my job to get it. It's just kind of almost like the lawyer thing of like, you can kind of choose not to take a client on, but there's our public defenders where it's like, right, I'm gonna give you the best defense possible. Obviously, a paid lawyer will give you a lot more, even better defense. But it's like, right, regardless of who's on it, like the legal system is meant to be designed where it's like, right, everyone is supposed to get a fair share. So that's why even terrible people have to be represented, because if the terrible people aren't represented, then everyone's not. It's supposed to be an equal playground when it comes to like defense and stuff like that, which it's not always is, but it kind of plays in that same wheelhouse in this situation. So I thought that was such a fascinating reveal. But it's like, yeah, because he actually tried to take this up the higher up the food chain, but it is a thing of he basically. It's a special code. Like once you're in it, like they're gonna do whatever they can to cover any malfeasance or anything bad. It's kind of it's that same like almost blue veil of protection type of situation. So now that things have turned out the way they have, Roth has basically made it such a public thing that they can't cover it up anymore. He's like, yeah, I might ruin the rest of my life or whatever, but I made this decision to sacrifice my life. I'm willing to lose my life for the greater good of what this represents. It's the only way they kind of, in his mind, can ensure democracy. It stays in tow. So that, a Secret Service member can't be swayed just because of their personal views. It's like, right, this is the person you were ordered to protect. That's what you do through and through. You made that vow, and for someone to go back on it for Roth, it's like that was the most. Like him saying that Cynthia is not worthy of her position. I'm sure Roth would say the same thing of Will. That's what he did all this for. So that's interesting. I wonder, are there other people like Will kind of scattered in, kind of, because I'm wondering, is it like I think maybe it's specifically as a Secret Service member, you're not meant to record and use that information like you did. Maybe it's just in general you're not legally allowed to record a senator unless they know that they're being recorded. So there's that, or maybe it's just specifically because he's a Secret Service member. So obviously it was all resolved, and obviously this kind of Cynthia was kind of behind like 5 points pretty early on in the episode, but this all seems to have swayed, especially because now Jerry is also connected to all of this, so now it is a situation that kind of burns him in the long run. So Cynthia might come out on top in this situation. So, and it looks like it's a guarantee. I think it's even, I guess after everything that's kind of going down, she came locked and loaded because she had a gun on her during the whole situation. She's like, well, you thought I was going to sit around and wait for you to help save me? But when it was all time, when she was alone, she kind of broke down because it was a lot. It's like, right, you thought there was an assassination attempt to get on your life the first time around at the very beginning of the episode, and now you thought like, wait, there's this guy who rose up, he has a gun on me, more so on Will, but still, it's a terrifying situation. So, but it's like, right, as a political person, you can't let them see you sweat or cry or be freaked out or scared, so you have to put on a brave face. So that's one side of the episode. The other side of things involves Robert's return. Wasn't Robert involved? Was it last season, or was it season 8 that we saw Robert last? I don't remember. I'm trying to think. Wasn't when he involved? Wasn't it a Keen episode? Wasn't Elizabeth still around when that happened? I don't remember, because if she was around, it was a season 8 episode. If she wasn't, might have been a season 9 episode. I don't remember, but either way, because wasn't the whole thing like, didn't Robert try to like trick Reddington, and Reddington got the best of him or something like that? Hence why he got arrested. I don't remember. Like, I remember Robert a little bit, but not a lot. Once again, he was like only a season or 2 ago, maybe, and I don't know. Either way, Reddington was getting this book that is like, its covers is laced in arsenic, because back then they didn't realize how toxic it was, and even was kind of, there was the person who gave Reddington the book was kind of like, yeah, that they started kind of, it was kind of like some witch fever or something like that is what they started chalking it up as. Now she's like, all these years later, we know like, oh, they didn't even realize that it wasn't just the book covers, like a lot of stuff they would put like arsenic in or something like that. So But Reddington ended up giving it to his buddy Robert, which even Robert was like, I'm kind of hesitant to receive this book, but all right, and ended up taking it. Then later on, when he's licking his fingers when he turned the page, I'm like, oh, I was like, and then with everything with the four guns being like, oh, Reddington's making them do a job for him, and it's like, yeah, it's gonna take they're like, yeah, it's going to need a couple days to a week. You got 3 hours. I was like, it's Robert, isn't it? You're kind of doing a prison break of sorts. So it's like, right, got him sick. He was at the hospital. Like I said, the four guns kind of do their leverage style thing, showing up as a guy like, hey, I'm here to visit my daughter. I'm going to be a grandfather at 73. One person's dressed like a nurse. The main dude is dressed as a priest. Got Robert out, and the security guard's chasing him. And I love the good old switcheroo where he tries to catch them, but it ends up being a different priest and different guy in a wheelchair. It's, other people part of the team. So I was like, that was pretty smooth. And I love when Reddington was like, Robert! He's like, oh, God, no. I was like, oh, come on, Robert. It's like, you tried the poison. He's like, come on. There was a 15% chance, 20% chance at tops that you were going to die. Okay, 25%, but come on, you're alive, you're well, it's fine, come on, let's get in here. And Robert's like, all right, fine. And just Reddington's like, yeah, there you go, buddy. I love that. And also, a home dude from the four guns ended up walking away with Reddington's watch. But Reddington's like, I got a tracker in it, so I can track them back to their actual hideout. And if I ever need their services again, which maybe he will. But I love that even one of the members of the four guns is like, you seriously have a problem. We need to deal with that. The fact is you can't help yourself with these damn watches. So. But it's like, okay, so what did you want, Reddington? It's like, okay, he's like, oh, he ended up offering him caviar or whatever. And it's like, yeah, if, what was it he was saying? He was basically like, if you were a prisoner, the caviar I would offer you would be just fish eggs. But it's like, nah, sit back, relax. I got fine. He's like, what are you up to? Because you never do anything without, even referencing the four guns thing of like, yeah, I got the tracker and everything. So, because it's like, I got nothing on my sleeve. It's like, that's bullshit. You've always got something. You got something planned. Even to the point that Cooper looked at a book earlier and Reddington was like, oh, that's a later project or something. That's a side project of mine. It's like, you are up to something. You're setting groundwork for something, and I'm just not sure fully what, especially when you got home dude to read you as well as he did. I guess it's like, I don't know if that was just for his sake to let him know who he was dealing with, or is it just you needed an outside perspective to kind of maybe reconfirm why you're doing what you're doing, kind of get, because we are never our best critics. We're actually our worst critics from time to time. So sometimes you need an outside perspective, a very blunt and honest honest assessment of yourself. So maybe that's what that was, to reassure him about the path he's going down, who he is right now, what he needs to do, what he needs to be. Maybe. But yeah, I ended up giving him like the Treasure Island book, and it's like, oh, we're going hunting. He's like, no, why are you? I love Reddington like gaslighting him. It seemed like it might be gaslighting him, being like, no. He's like, we might need to check your brain for that arson. He's like, you gave me. It literally says, he's like, the fact is you gave me the book. The whole Oliver Twist thing was before because it was about an orphan or, someone being taught how to like steal or whatever. So I was like, right, that's our thing. And now you're handing me something with treasure in it. It's literally treasure in the title. He's like, you might need to get your head checked. He's like, no, I'm not letting you anywhere near my head. But it's like, I don't know if Reddington's legitimately gaslighting him by being like, no, it's just a book. There's no deeper meaning of like, oh, we're going on some treasure hunt. No. Which, maybe there is. We'll ultimately have to wait and see. It's going to be interesting. The next episode is, in fact, the 200th episode of the Blacklist. So that's pretty dope that with the final season we got to hit such a monumental milestone. God, I forgot. Like I said, I think it's going to be a 22 episode season. So not unless it's like 218 or something. I don't feel like doing the math in my head. God, I feel like such an idiot. Regardless, it doesn't matter. The next episode is the 200th episode, so that's pretty dope. So I'm excited to see where everything ultimately ends up taking us going forward into the next episode. But really, that's all I want to talk about. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day, and goodbye.